Hey guys, so today I'm really excited to test out some of the products that I picked up in the Ulta Fall Haul sale. If you saw my cart declutter video, it was a ton of fun. I'll leave it linked below, but if you saw that video, then you'll know mostly what I ended up ordering, but I did actually end up changing my mind on a few things based on your suggestions in the comments of that video, as well as one of the items ended up going out of stock, so I ended up replacing it with one that I had originally taken out of my cart. So let me just go ahead and give you a quick overview of what I ended up getting so that you'll see what I'll be testing out in today's video. So first, NYX was having buy two, get one free, so I decided to pick up 3 products that had been on my wish list for a while. First being the Bare With Me Concealer Serum, and thank you so much for your comments on this. I had the shade Vanilla in my cart, but quite a few of you told me to get the shade Light instead, and you were right, because Light is the perfect shade. I think Vanilla probably would have been too deep. Then I got their Sweet Cheeks Liquid Blush in the shade Nude Tude, and the Thick It Stick It Brow Gel in Cool Blonde. So those 3, I've actually already tried all 3 of these once, but I'm definitely still forming my opinion on them. And then there are 2 eyeshadow products that I got. So this was something that I did swap back into my cart. I had this in my cart, and then I took it out because I was like, I don't know. I had too many things in my cart, so I took this out. But you might remember I also had the About Face liquid eyeshadow, the matte liquid eyeshadow. I think it was in the shade called Freak. It was like a light lavender shade, but that ended up going out of stock. I was already tempted to put this back in, but then my friend Kirsten's Makeup Vanity over on Instagram, she also has a YouTube channel. I'll leave her linked below. She's super sweet, but she messaged me on Instagram after she watched my cart declutter video, and she was like, I'm not gonna tell you that you should buy the Flower Single Shadow, but I have it. I recently bought it, and it is stunning. So I was like, well, that's really all the convincing I need to go ahead and put this back in my cart, especially since I'm not getting the About Face liquid shadow. I felt like it was an even swap. I have already tried this once, and this might be the thing out of this whole order that I'm most excited about. That's all I'm gonna say right now. And then I also got the J-Cat Rockin' the Night Sparkling Powder. I did switch the shade that I originally had in my cart. I originally had Earth Mango, and that shade also went out of stock. So instead I got the shade Chameleon Effect, which is a really cool duochrome shade. So I'm gonna try to use both of these on my eyes today somehow. And really that's all the makeup that we're gonna be testing today. That's all the makeup from my order. For any categories where I don't have something new, I'll just swap in something either from my project pan or my everyday makeup drawer. Okay, I feel like I was just talking really fast, but I really wanna get into the actual makeup application. I'm gonna start out with this foundation that I recently rolled into my project pan. It's the Urban Decay Hydromaniac. Oh, and I did also get in my order some replacements of the EcoTools Bio Blender sponge. This is my favorite sponge, and I'm so happy to have it back in my life because the other 2 sponges I had been using were super old. They were ready to be replaced. So there's just nothing quite like the feeling of a brand new, fresh makeup sponge. And I have had these in the past and I love them. I like how big it gets when it's wet. It's just a nice size, and I love that it has 2 flat edges. I actually like this shape better than like your traditional beauty blender sponge because I like the flat edges. I feel like it just makes it really easy to get into like different corners of your face. Crevices. Oh yeah, I miss this sponge. I've been using some sponges that I had gotten in PR from Base Blue. They're snowflake sponges. And I liked those sponges, but they had come in like a 6-pack, so I've been using that same sponge for like an entire year, and I've just been kind of missing these. Okay, so I did a pretty thin layer of that foundation because we are going to be testing out the NYX Serum Concealer, and I do kind of want to test this for some spot concealing on my face as well. I just want to give it a good test on both the under eyes and the face. So I just took a little pump of that, like really probably a half a pump. And I actually have to say, I really like this packaging so far. I actually like that it has a pump, and it is an airless pump, so as you use it up, you'll be able to see exactly how much you have left. And if you are a panner like me, or you just like to use up your concealers, I'm assuming you'll be able to get everything out of there without having to like take it apart, take any sort of stopper out or anything. So I do really appreciate this packaging. So I just kind of dotted some on my under eyes, and we are going to blend it out with my sponge. I had just put it on the back of my hand. I'm just taking the tiny bit that was left on the back of my hand and just adding the rest of that to my under eyes so that I can just kind of build up the coverage a little bit. So I've heard a lot of people compare this to the Kosas Revealer Concealer. And I can see why, because it is, especially the way that it goes on and blends in, it really does look and feel very lightweight on the under eyes, and I do feel like the coverage is about the same as what I get from the Kosas concealer, maybe a little bit less, but I kind of want to try building up just a little bit more. I do want to point out it's called a serum concealer, which to me that usually means it's going to be sort of liquidy, like it would kind of run down your finger if you pump it onto your finger, but you can see it's pretty thick. It doesn't feel thick going on, but it doesn't really have the texture of a serum to me. I'm just going to build up a little bit more, and then I'm going to take the rest and dot it around some of these areas of my cheeks where I have a little bit of, ooh, I just got too much. I do think sometimes the pump lets out too much. You have to be kind of careful not to waste it. I'm just kind of putting some around my cheeks. So that bumped up the coverage a little bit. Definitely, I would say the coverage on this is kind of a light to medium. Okay, yeah, so they do describe this as a medium coverage concealer, which I would agree with. I appreciate that they don't claim that it's full coverage when it's not. I hate when brands do that. I am getting a little bit of creasing. I haven't set my under eyes yet, and I do feel like it's settling into my creases a little bit more than the Kosas concealer would. But then again, I did put on quite a few layers. So next up, let's go ahead and try the Sweet Cheeks liquid blush, or they call it a blush mousse soft cheek tint. I got the shade Nude Tude, which looks like such a beautiful fall and winter kind of like spicy shade. I don't really feel like I have any, at least not cream blushes in my collection that are quite this color. Isn't that so pretty? It definitely has kind of like a powdery feel as you blend it out. I have already used this blush, I think once so far, and I was able to, I didn't have to be too careful. I hope I didn't just apply too much. We'll see. The first time I only did like one dot and it was like barely showing up. So it's not as pigmented as taking like a liquid lipstick straight to your cheeks or anything, even though it kind of looks like it would be. Yeah, and I like that I don't have to work too quickly. Like I let that sit on there for a good, 10-15 seconds, and it hadn't already set into place or anything. Isn't that a beautiful color? I think that is gorgeous. You can see where I swatched it on the back of my hand. It is definitely matte, like it has a matte finish. My cheeks do have a little bit of glow to them, but that's mainly coming from my glowy foundation. That Urban Decay Hydromaniac just has a pretty dewy finish on its own. So next, I'm just gonna go ahead and set my under eyes and my T-zone with some powder. See, I do feel like the NYX concealer has started to kind of like fade away, whereas that's usually not the case with the Kosas. If I take a while to set the Kosas concealer, it holds up pretty well even without powder, whereas this, I feel like it's already fading from my under eyes, which, in that case, I can just try to set it a little bit faster. But I don't really want to add more because I've already kind of built up. I think I've built up enough of it. So I'm going to go ahead and set my under eyes with the Kosas Cloud Set Powder, which I recently rolled into my project pan. And I'm going to set my forehead and my T-zone with that powder as well. For bronzer and highlighter, I'm going to use my BH Belgian Waffle palette. This is currently in my everyday makeup drawer. I'm going to go into the shade Buttermilk for some quick bronzer. And I'll use the shade Powdered Sugar for my highlight. Next, I'm going to do my brows. The other day, I actually tried a different brow technique where I applied my brow gel first, and I used this NYX Thick It Stick It one. Such a funny name. And then after I filled in my brows with that tinted brow gel, then I went in with my brow pen, and I also have the NYX Lift and Snatch brow pen, and I actually really liked the result. This tinted gel, I'll go ahead and show you. It has kind of like a squeezy tube, which is kind of nice so that when you get to the end, you can squeeze it onto your brush, if that makes sense. This has actually a pretty big brush. Like for example, I'll go ahead and compare it to the Pacifica Highest Def Brow Gel, which I don't care for at all. But this Pacifica one does have, I think, a more standard sized brush for a brow gel. You can see how much bigger the NYX one is over here compared to the Pacifica. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of comb my brows upward and then brush this through, and I'm kind of I'm definitely being mindful of how I place it because I want it to stay with just the natural shape of my brows. Let me give you like a quick little swatch of this too. And there's the color of the cool blonde shade on my hand. I just kind of swatched it with the brush. I do like the shade a lot. I think it's the perfect coolness for my brows. I don't feel like it pulls too orange or warm or anything. And this does have kind of a sticky texture, which is, you know, in the name, thick it, stick it. And I've really been on the hunt for like a strong hold brow gel. So that's kind of what I'm hoping this will be for me. But like, look how well it actually does fill in my brows. Normally I don't do just brow gel, but I feel like I could get away with just putting this in my brows and no other product if I was in a hurry. It makes it look like I filled in my brows, and I'm not really getting too much of it outside the lines. If I do, I can just kind of smear it off with my finger, or I could cover it up with a little powder or something, or concealer, but this is a lot easier to use than I was expecting. Even with the slightly bigger brush, like my brows really do feel like they are stuck to my face, which is what I was hoping for. I mean, I'm happy with the way my brows look just like that, but if I want like a slightly more put together look, I will go ahead and just fill in a little bit here and there with my Lift and Snatch brow pen. This is somewhat new to me, but I've been using this for about a month now, and I really like this brow pen too. So I'm just going to kind of just look for any areas where I feel like things look a little bit sparse, like the tail here. BRB doing a little impromptu plucking here. Sometimes I like to pluck my brows after I fill them in, because then I can really see like what's not supposed to be there. I kind of want to add a little bit more blush over here to this side. I feel like this side ended up a little bit more pigmented than this side. Maybe I just under applied over here. But I'm gonna see how well this applies now that I've already powdered kind of my under eyes and T-zone. Hopefully it doesn't, like I did set right here, but I didn't put any powder over the blush. So let's see if it's forgiving enough to add some on. I would think so, because it is a cream to powder sort of texture. All right, I do feel like the front end of my brows got a little blocky. I'm gonna sort of try to blend that with the spoolie here. Yeah, happy with my brows. As always, with any new brow routine, it takes me a little while to get the hang of it and get it just right, but I am really happy with the way that my brows look, and I like that I'm able to just use this brow gel if I want to, and I still think my brows look good. Like, they look adequately filled in, even with just this brow gel on its own. And I like how it really does feel like my brows are going to stay in place. So far, I think I like the NYX Thick It Stick It more than the e.l.f. Brow Lift, just because I don't like having to dip a spoolie into here. I've been mainly just kind of scooping it out with the spatula. I bought the Brow Lift applicator to go with it, and that works okay, but it's just, to me, it just makes more sense. It's easier to have it just already in here with a, you know, spoolie kind of built in. It just, to me, that just makes more sense. So I do think I like this style of brow gel better than this kind. So onto the eyeshadow now. Like I said, we have two new little single shadows here. So this is the J-Cat Rockin' the Night Sparkling Powder, and I went with the shade Chameleon Effect. And okay, so here's the thing with this. This was super affordable. I think I got it for less than $2. I think it was like $1.75, which is an amazing price. But the packaging is not my favorite. So it's literally just this little bottle. You screw off the top, and there's just like a hole in the top. Like, if I tip this over, it's gonna spill everywhere. There's no sifter. I think it would be kind of nice if maybe there was like a little sponge tip applicator attached to the lid. That would be nice, because then you can kind of pick some up on there. Just something along those lines would be nice. But with this, this makes me a little nervous. You know, I've got carpets here. Yeah, I don't want to make any messes, but I'm gonna just flip it upside down so I can get some on my finger. See if that works. Well, yeah, I think that might be the downfall of this product. I'm just going to sprinkle some out on my hand. Let's just put this all over the lid and see what it looks like. I haven't tested this yet, so I'm really curious. This is a really pretty shade. It's sort of a red-green duochrome, which I think might make a really pretty shade around the holidays. Like, look at that. That is really pretty. Let me zoom you in even more. Really, I was just curious to try JCat because I haven't tried anything from this brand before, and they are very affordable. Let me know if you have any other JCat favorites that I should check out. I'm just gonna build up a little bit more on this side. Sure, I could also use a brush, but I don't know. I just like applying shadows with my fingers. I really do like how it looks like I'm wearing more than one color. Like as I've blended it up, kind of in the crease of my eye, it does look more brown. But then where the light catches it, you can see that green shift. I did get a little fallout on my cheeks. I mean, that's to be expected, especially because I was applying it with a finger. I do wish it were just a little bit more intense, like a little bit more metallic. I feel like if I'm going to go to the trouble to use a loose shadow, it needs to be something really special and maybe like really foiled. I'm sure if I put my NYX glitter primer underneath this, it would probably shine even more, but yeah, we'll keep playing with that. Maybe not my favorite product from this haul. Alright, so next for the Flower Chrome Crush Pressed Pigment. This is a pretty new product from Flower, I'm pretty sure. And I did wear this the other day and I was amazed by how beautiful this is. So it has kind of like a cushiony sort of feel to it, similar to something like the ColourPop Super Shocks. I already love this shadow. It might be my favorite thing that I purchased in the sale. There's the swatch of it. Look how wet that looks. It looks like I have like almost like a lip gloss on my hand right now. That's just how reflective it is, and it's also so glimmery. I cannot believe how beautiful this is. This to me reminds me a lot of the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes shimmers. Similar texture, similar kind of feel in the pot. It also has a similar sort of shift and that same kind of twinkle to it. So suffice it to say, I'm very excited about this product, and I am really tempted to go out and buy more shades because just wait. I haven't tried it on top of this JCat shadow yet, but yeah, just look at this. I mean, this would just make the most gorgeous topper over any look. Like, look how sparkly. I also think this was probably a smarter purchase compared to the About Face Liquid Matte Shadow, especially in the shade that I was looking at, because the shade that I wanted in the About Face shadow was like a pastel lavender, which I think I would probably get more use out of in like the spring anyway. Not really wearing that kind of color on my eyes as we're going into the fall and into the holidays. It's just not really the kind of color I'm going to wear that often. So, but this kind of shade, on the other hand, is going to be, well, I think this is the kind of thing I'll use all year round, but this is going to be gorgeous during the holidays. I like to go really glam and sparkly a lot of the time, like as we get into this time of year. So yeah, I'm really happy with this purchase. I feel like this eye look is just a little weird. Like, really the only reason I used the two together was so that we could test both. But let me just blend a little bit here. I think what I might do actually is reach into my Lethal Custom palette. If you didn't see my video on Wednesday, I created my own custom build your own palette on the Lethal Cosmetics palette designer. I am loving this palette so much. I'm so happy with how it turned out. But I'm going to take a little bit of the shade Imago. This is like a deep mauve matte, and I'm just going to kind of use that to add a little definition to my outer corner. Then I'm going to go into the shade Archetype, which is like a slightly lighter matte mauve, and I'm going to blend that through my crease. Well, this is turning out to be like a very Christmassy look to me, like with the green and red and sparkles. I do want to take just a little bit more of that flower shimmer. I can't believe I almost didn't purchase this, but this might be my favorite thing in the entire order that I got. Just to illustrate my point, I swatched the Flower Chrome Crush Pressed Pigment in Quartz next to the shade Tiger's Eye from the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. Do you see what I mean? Very similar texture. Like, they both have that kind of wet, glossy look to them. They both have a similar shift to them too. I'm so happy with that. Amazing. Yeah, don't be surprised if you see me eventually collect every shade of this. I think it only comes in maybe 5 or 6 shades, so that wouldn't be too crazy. I think this look, even though it does look very Christmassy, I think it totally works for the fall too. I kind of feel like my blush is looking a little uneven, so I'm just kind of tapping over it with a brush. I don't think the unevenness is the fault of the blush. I think that was my fault. But I'm happy to say that even when I went back in with a little bit more blush after I powdered, it didn't seem to mess with my base makeup. I'm gonna go in with some setting spray now. This is my Makeup Revolution Fix and Glow. I do want to take some winged liner. I'm going to use my Flower Forever Wear winged liner in Dark and Stormy. It's a nice dark brown. Alright, on the lips, I've really been loving the Kokie lip liner in Dusty Rose lately for the fall. I normally talk about the shades Nude and Warm Nude. Those are my 2 most used Kokie lip liners, but Dusty Rose is really nice too. It's just got a little bit more rosiness to it, as the name would suggest. I'm actually going to fill in my lips entirely with this shade. And then I'm going to top that with one of my current favorite glosses. This is the Minori gloss in the shade Cozy. Perfect shade for the fall, perfect shade name for the fall. It's like a sort of brownish rose gold color. Really, really pretty. Okay, so that is the finished look with all these products. Sometimes when I do like, you know, a try-on haul, sometimes the products don't really work that well together, but I do feel like all of these products came together and worked really well. Especially, like, I actually really like this eye look. I wasn't quite sure where I was going with it, but I feel like it turned out really nicely. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing these products in action. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I upload at least 3 videos a week, so I'd love to see you back soon. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and hopefully I will talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye.